Mary.
Up at the parking lot.
Hi, Bear.
Everybody will be.
It was sunny.
Hi, Shabbat Shalom. There's a lot of.
Shabbat Shalom. I had to go to the other screen.
I know.
Hi, Manny.
Hi, Bear.
Hi, everyone. Shabbat Shalom.
Oh, there's. Hi, Bear.
No.
Oh, they're
And
muted.
Jerry, my word.
Hi,
Phyllis.
Hi.
Hi,
How are you?
Hi, Susie.
Hi.
Hi.
Susie. Where's David?
He's coming. He's coming.
Yeah, I know. It takes him a while. Hi, Sharna.
Hi.
It's so nice to see you.
Our final Shabbat Shaloms before we head on mute.
Shabbat Shalom.
There it is.
Hey, hey, Bear's on mute.
Shabbat Shalom, friends. As I look for my clergy team, there we go.
I'm here. I'm going to bring you a little closer.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, God bless you. Love roots.
Didn't hit mute in time.
Gesundheit. Yes, let's do it. Oh, Ziva Zimratya, Vayahili Neshua. Oh, Ziva Zimratya, Vayahili Neshua. Well, we just happen to be on page 647 if you're following along, or if you're just listening along, Ozi Vazimratya. Ozi Vazimratya. Vayahili Yeshua. 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 Ozi Vazimratya. Vayahili Yeshua.
Shabbat Shalom, friends. That breath coming in for Shabbat is such an important one. This afternoon, in some of my time in preparation for Shabbat, I watched an interview or a conversation with Chef Michael Twitty. If we're not familiar, Michael Twitty is an incredible person. He is a Jew of color who has written so much, both about African-American Southern cooking, as well as Jewish food. And so his Twitter handle is very appropriately Kosher Soul. And one of his writings that really touched me, which is from his book, The Cooking Gene. talks about what Jewish food means, especially means to him. He writes, Jewish food is a matter of text expressed on the table. Continuing with, Jewish food and Black food crisscross each other throughout history. They're both cuisines where homeland and exile interplay. Ideas and emotions are ingredients, satire, irony, longing, resistance, and you have to eat the food to extract that meaning. One memory is the sweep of the people's journey, and the other is the little bits and pieces of individual lives shaped by ancient paths and patterns. The food is an archive, a keeper of secrets. Shabbat might hold really important food memories for each of us. And part of Michael Twitty's journey and part of each of our journey can be to look deep, to not just take it on the surface, but continue to look at our own traditions. Why is it that that roast chicken is so associated with Shabbat dinner? Maybe it's camp, maybe it's something else. Why is it that a
Roberta Safer
cold sandwich is so
joined the meeting.
Shabbat? There are so many things, from cholent all the way to fried black beans, to beans, and so many other flavors that impact who we are, and we get to spread out a table of who we are each and every time that we eat, that we cook food that is important to us. And it's on Shabbat where we get to sit back and look at the tunes and the words and the experiences that are so deeply important to our community, our Jewish community that brings itself together through the lighting of Shabbat candles each and every Friday night, bringing that light of Shabbat in and spreading out that light of goodness throughout our world. And our Rabbi Singer got brand new Shabbat candlesticks, and so we're going to put them to good use on this Shabbat as I ask her to lead us in the lighting of candles on page 120.
And the singing.
Here they are. I'm obsessed with them. They're a welcome to Temple Shalom present. So thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. May those continue to bring light and joy into your home, Rabbi Singer. And we continue with the blessing of sweetness, of making it a holy moment as we invite Dan Fistel and Robin to join us to help us to bless the Kiddush, bless the wine, to bring in that sweetness of Shabbat. And we can follow along with them on page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzanu banu Shabbat kodesh b'ahavat uv'ratzon hinchiltanu zikaron l'maaseh Bereshit, ki hu yom tchilat l'markei kodesh, zecher l'itziat Mitzrayim, ki banu maharta v'yatanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodeshecha v'ahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu. Baruch atah Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan and Robin Fintel. Thank you for blessing us with that beautiful sweetness. As we continue to bless our whole community with sweetness and joy, as we welcome in the Shabbat blessing of love, the Shabbat holiness with Lecha Dodi on page 138.
Lecha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha Dodi likrat kala pnei Shabbat nikabela. Shamoy b'zachor b'ribor echad Hishmianu el hamyuchad Adonai echad Ushmo echad L'shemo tiferet v'litila Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nikabela Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nikabela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha Ki mekol hameracha Merosh mikedem nesucha Sof maaseh b'machashava techila Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nikabela Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nikabela Hitoreri Ki vorech umiori Uri shir daveri Kvod Adonai alayich nigla Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nikabela Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nikabela. We rise, we welcome in the Sabbath bride, and if we're just welcoming you right now, would you turn to page 139 and face the entrance of your home? Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'tzola, toch emunei ha'segula, boi chala lecha Dodi likrat kala p'nei Shabbat nikabela Lecha Dodi likrat kala P'nei Shabbat nikabela.
Of course, it is not just that Shabbat bride, that Shabbat love that we bring into our space, but we're also bringing in Shabbat angels. On page 142, we find a blessing welcoming the Sabbath angels that bring peace into our space, that bring that little extra spark of happiness and goodness as we go about the next 24 hours of Shabbat.
Okay, so this is a more upbeat version of Shalom Aleichem. It's from an old composer, Paul Zim, and you're going to have to really help me. I'm going to feel the energy on this Zoom call if you're not with me. One of the great Sabbath traditions of our people is singing and banging on a table or clapping our hands, whatever your neighbors prefer. But are you ready? So we start off like this. Lai 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 lai. Shalom Alachem, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon. Mimelech, Malchi Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Bochem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Mimelech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai. Barhuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Mimelech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitzchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mimelech, Mimelech, Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Lai 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 lai. Lai 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 lai.
I love seeing everyone clapping as I scroll through the pages on Zoom here, which leads us to the Baruch Hu, this prayer that says, Baruch Hu, all of us, we praise God together with singing, with clapping, and with love. Page 146, we rise in spirit.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach Le'olam Ha'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach Le'olam Ha'ed.
Page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Please be seated. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lachtecha b'derech uv'shokbecha uv'kumecha u'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu totafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
The waters parting, incredible miracles. To remind me of a quote by Albert Einstein. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. One cannot help but be in awe when they contemplate the mysteries of eternity, of life, of the marvelous structure of reality. It is enough if one tries merely to comprehend a little of this mystery each and every day. Never lose a holy curiosity. Page 158.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedai b'kodesh, norati lo tosef ele, malchut charau v'necha, uke'alam nifnei Moshe u'Miriam, zeli anu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, v'nemar kifadai Adonai et Yaakov, וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Page 160.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו L'chaim, l'chaim. Try that. It might be new for you. Hashkivenu is not though, so say these lullaby words with me. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. L'chaim. May you shelter us in peace until the morning comes. May you lay us down with love and may you raise us up. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim, l'chaim.
Those words that we began with a quote from Michael Twitty, the chef, talked so much about how we look back and see the things that has shaped us, shaped our community, shaped our customs, our ethics, our values. And one of these is truly endured throughout the many centuries, and that is the Jewish people continues to celebrate Shabbat.
Let us keep the Sabbath on page 162. V'shameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam ve'rit olam beini uvein bnei Yisrael oti le'olam le'olam ki sheishet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz u'bayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash.
I love that the editor of our prayer book decided to put a poem by Langston Hughes in it on page 165 for us to think about prayer as a conversation with God. He writes, in an envelope marked personal, God addressed me a letter. In an envelope marked personal, I've given my answer. This is what we do in prayer. We have a conversation with the divine. Page 164, we begin our tefillah.
Adonai sifatai titahu fi abdi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah. האל הגדול, הגיבור הנורא, אל עליון גומר חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לפני בניהם, למען שמו מאהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. תומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו משני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
An invitation to prayer based on a poem by Rabbi Rachel Barenblatt entitled Shelter in this time of Elul, the month before Rosh Hashanah. Most years in Elul, we say the king is in the field. God walks with us in the tall grass to hear our yearnings. This year, Shekhinah shelters in place with us. With her, we don't need to mask our fears or our despair. When we stay up too late reading the news again or binge watch The Good Place, desperate for redemption, she does too. As we practice social distancing and pray silently, we're not alone. She summons angels to encourage our souls to grow and grow. We continue silently.
Adonai Tzurim, Adonai Tzurim, V'goali, V'goali.
I just finished a chapter for a book on the Torah about trauma. And in my research and my own experience, I've noticed that one traumatic moment compounds another. Somehow trauma shrinks time so that a painful present moment evokes a lifetime of aches. As Walter Benjamin once wrote, a remembered event is infinite because it is a key to everything that happened before it and after it. Or as James Baldwin chronicled poetically, My memory stammers, but my soul is a witness. So tonight, our Misha Berach includes so many in our extended communities who are experiencing trauma in our country. To the west, those in California, sweeping up the ashes and breathing in the smoke of another spate of wildfires. And to the south and southeast, those in Texas and Louisiana, mopping and picking up pieces strewn by another storm. And to the north and in our midst, those in Kenosha and throughout our country, weeping and stunned after the shooting of Jacob Blake and murder of 2 protesters. For all of them going through this, O God, and for ourselves, we ask for healing and support, strength, resolve, and courage. I invite you to share the names of those in our community and in our hearts who are in need of healing, of body, of mind, and of spirit. You can either unmute yourself or write their names in our chat.
We may now unmute.
Lorraine Bame.
Richard
Alexa
Lopez,
from
Howard Siegel.
Wallace Windsor, Kathy Dorothy,
Emmanuel Gonzalez. Carlos Tavares.
Sheldon Steinlaw.
Lydia Rose Winkler.
Mary
Eric
Ann Hartwood.
Friedberg, Eric Friedberg, Ron Rubin, and Kim Dombrow.
Lou Van Costa Rostevsky.
We add to their names Marge Hilliard and Melissa Josephs, David Mayer, Elaine Baddock, Rochelle Baddock, Jonathan Spitz and Ann Nicholas, Susan Levine, Alana Worth, and Richard Moschel, Norman Lasco, Jason and Sam Ellis, Michelle Passman, the family of our beloved, extraordinary Rabbi Mark S. Shapiro of blessed memory, who passed away this morning surrounded by family. We pray for the healing of his family in this time of great pain. We mention again the name of Lorraine Bame, Matt Rafttree, Debbie Frank, Eric Boyd, Avner Drucker, June Rience, Millie and Dan, Lydia Rose Winkler, the Cunningham family, and the Kessler family.
Let me add to those names as well. Those in need of healing: Richard Stoller, Rebecca Luker, Flo Bernberg, Paula Serralo, Stan Gross, Julie McVeigh, and Carol Cook.
Page 371. Mishabeirach Avotenu Makor Habracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishabeirach imotenu makor habracha abotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
The New York Times published a story this week about a couple, Abina and Alex Horton, who are currently in the process of selling their home. They live in a predominantly white, affluent neighborhood, and they were expecting their home to be appraised for around $450,000. They were disappointed, but not shocked, when the appraiser assigned their home a far lesser value of $330,000. Mrs. Horton, who is Black, stated, "My heart kind of broke. I knew what the issue was, and I knew what we needed to do to fix it." Mrs. Horton then proceeded to take down all of the pictures from her side of the family, and she replaced them with oil paintings and pictures from Mr. Horton's side of the family, who is white. After their second appraisal, the home was given a value of $465,000, a more than 40% increase from the first appraisal. Unfortunately, the Horton story is not unusual. Similar stories are reported by Black homeowners all over the country, despite the fact that the Fair Housing Act of 1968 requires appraisers not to discriminate based on race, religion, natural origin, or gender. When we hear stories like this, it can be difficult not to be overtaken emotionally by the deep unfairness of the world. Some of that unfairness is systemic, bound up in and perpetuated by our cultural and legal systems. And some of it is random, like when we drive through the city the day after a storm and see which of our neighbors' trees were blown over by wind or struck by lightning and which were spared. Our phones and computers, which in many ways keep us connected and informed, also barrage us daily with stories like these of tragedy and despair, and overwhelm us at times with a lot of information. I worry sometimes that our acute hyper-awareness of all of the big unfairness of our world leaves us feeling powerless and lacking in responsibility. What could we possibly accomplish? I think it's easy to think when we feel like so much is out of our control. This week's Torah portion, Ki Teitzei, provides a beautiful and personal response to the notion that we are powerless. The theme of the Parsha is about what does it mean to be a good citizen? And towards the end, it includes 3 statements that are small but important. Deuteronomy 25:13 states, "You shall not carry in your pocket alternate weights, larger and smaller." I'm going to say that again in case you missed it the first time. "You shall not carry in your pocket alternate weights, larger and smaller." The text continues, "You shall not have in your house alternate weights, larger and smaller." You must have completely honest weights and completely honest measures if you are to endure long on the soil that God is giving you. Completely honest weights and completely honest measures. What I love about this text is that it doesn't specify that merchants shouldn't carry alternate weights or that salespeople shouldn't carry alternate weights. The text says you shouldn't carry alternate weights in your pocket. This leaves room for us to imagine that we are all carrying weights around in our pocket. We are all constantly measuring things. This isn't bad. This doesn't make us bad. This is just human nature. We're constantly measuring and judging and sorting through various exchanges in our minds in order to survive. Our job, however, according to the Torah, is to make sure that the weights that we carry in our pockets, the way that we appraise people and situations and opportunities, are fair. Making sure that the weights that we carry in our pockets are fair, making sure that they're fair, takes a lot of work. Sometimes we are carrying alternate weights around in our pockets and we don't even realize that they're not the correct sizes. Take that initial appraiser of the Hortons' home, for example. I think there is a good chance that she wasn't walking around the Hortons' home explicitly deciding to lower the value. There's a good chance that she didn't even know that she carries around shorter measures in her pockets for Black people and for people who look different than her. This is called implicit bias. The implicit assumptions that we hold unaware in our subconscious. These are the shorter measures that we don't even know that we carry in our pockets. This is extremely common. So common, in fact, that it is estimated to cost Black homeowners a collective $165 billion in cumulative losses. So common, in fact, that we all do it. One of the characteristics of implicit bias is that it is pervasive. No matter our age, gender, race, or religion, we pick up implicit biases. The rabbis understood the dangers of carrying around these unfair weights. In fact, and this is really interesting, they found it so dangerous that they declared that the sin of carrying unfair weights is worse than the sin of engaging in illicit sexual relationships. They explain, and you have to know that they think that's really bad because they did not like illicit sexual relationships. They explain that the reason why carrying unfair weights is worse than in illicit relationships is because while engaging in an illicit relationship can be deeply damaging to one or two or a few people, when we carry unfair weights with us, we use them and we measure with them over and over and over again. And therefore, we spread that damage out among many, many people. We see the damage of carrying unfair weights with us playing out in our daily world. We see it in the real estate market, we see it in our medical system, and we see it in tragic moments where men like Jacob Blake are shot in the back. We may not be appraisers or doctors or police officers, but we can use these stories to pull out our own weights and ask ourselves, how do we make them more honest and more fair? The extraordinarily hopeful news is that we are not powerless. It is within our power to work towards carrying those completely honest weights that the Torah commands us to bear. This, thankfully, is backed by science. The Kirwan Institute for the Study of Race and Ethnicity at Ohio University explains that implicit biases are malleable. Our brains are incredibly complex, and the implicit associations that we have formed can be gradually unlearned through a variety of debiasing techniques. If our brains are malleable, then that means that our weights and our measurements are too. And I know that we at Temple Shalom are going to be collectively remeasuring our weights this year through the theme of embrace. I'm sure that some of that act of remeasuring might be a little challenging or uncomfortable or awkward at times, but I think it is also going to be extremely important and helping us build towards something better and necessary. I know that if we can approach it with open minds and open hearts, we can make our world a little more fair, measure by measure. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
To turn to page 586 for Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו כחומונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
We take time now to bring into both our homes and into our collective home the memory and the presence of people who we've lost in the last year, in the last week, and the last month, or in the last year or in the last years at this time. So if you're thinking of somebody and you want to remember them tonight, please unmute yourself and share their name with us, or you can write their name in the chat.
Carol Kristen Holtz.
David Weinstein.
Joel Waxman.
Sherry Chemical Goodman.
Arnold Fogel.
John
Judd
M. Griffith.
Weinberg and sorry, John.
Go ahead, Richard.
Judd Weinberg and Dorothy Gottlieb.
John M. Griffith.
Arnold Siegel.
Yeah, to those names: Susan Kessler, Helene Harrison, Michael Silverstein, Rosalind Dumack, Papa Howie, Tony Kessler, Michael Bauer, along with Howard Cohen, Marcia Landman, Julieta Sanchez, Elaine Kupfer, Robin Perlman Klima, Betsy Banyas Paradise, Blanche Pargerman, Connie Jo Punzi, Eleanor Singer, Sylvia Nyberg, Catherine Kiki Klein, Matthew David Tarnoff, Selma Abramowitz, Alexandra Alexeyeva, Mace Barrett, Michael Blitzstein, Anna Feigenbaum, Slava Fintel, Shirley Fisher, Elmer Friedman, Isidore Freumann, Ethel Glickstein, Ruth Goldfein Horwich, Stephen Hirsch, Sadie Horowitz, Everett Kovler, Sue Levin, Edith Edie Levy, Fred Lewis, David Moshkis, Robert Nemes, Joseph Newman, Edmund C. Nowicki, Mark Pasternak, Min Rupberg, June Rosen, Milton Rosenstein, Ruth G. Rothman, Edward J. Rezumna, Audrey Tannenbaum, Gabrielle Zakruski.
As well as Richard Boehm, Myron Cholden, Ira Berger, Jim Lemkow, Florence Teuscher, George S. Irving, Jane Kennedy, and Sam Napolitano.
We rise and turn to Mourner's Kaddish on page 598.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, yalmad divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayachon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael v'agala uvizman kari v'imru. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kurusha. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechamata d'amiran b'yalma v'imru. Yehi shlam araba min shemaya. Chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom imromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru imru. Amen.
We're wishing you all a restful and sweet Shabbat. I believe we're closing with the same song that we started with.
Not always, but most of the time. Oh, Ziva Zimraya, Ayehi Lishua. Oh, Ziva Zimraya, Ayehi Lishua. Oh, Ziva Zimraya. Zimratya Vaya Lish. My son was singing along, that's why I'm laughing.
Beautiful.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.